Welcome to this week's Disney Conversation. We're glad you're here to talk with us today. And before we get started, let's meet the crew.
Hey guys, this is Splash.
Sparkles.
It's T-Bone.
Welcome, guys. This is Disney Conversation number 2. Today is Thursday, April 20th, 2017. And we're going to usually try to record these on Wednesday, but we're a day late as we get this going. But we'll try to do this once a week. I think we should get right into the news. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, our first story this week. Emma Watson's Beauty and the Beast is 2017's highest grossing film worldwide, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. The live action film from Disney's reached a new milestone by crossing the $1 billion mark earned. Actually, last Wednesday, they exceeded $1 billion global box office threshold. This is a live remake of the 1991 animated classic that was released on March 16th. It has been out about a month. Due to its success so far, Beauty and the Beast is now 2017's highest grossing film domestically, internationally, and worldwide. It's also the biggest live action movie musical of all time. Beauty and the Beast is now among the $1 billion club that includes The Avengers, Captain America Civil War, Frozen, and more films, but it's still got a long way to go before it reaches $2 billion like Star Wars The Force Awakens did last year. Wow, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Titanic, Avatar, all those films have made over $2 billion. As far as Emma Watson, this is her second $1 billion film. Her first was the finale of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which earned $1.3 billion by the end of its run. So what do you think, guys? Y'all saw Beauty and the Beast on opening night. Is it a $1 billion film? Did you like it that much?
I thought it was. I thought it was very well made. I was much more impressed with it than I thought I would be going into it. I think the special effects were phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to live up to with the animation because the animation itself was one of Disney's most popular films when it first came out. And that's like they made inanimate objects come to life. I didn't know how well they do it, like actually on screen, but it was really, really good, well made. It looked real. It was good. It deserves it.
Yeah, going back to what Sparkles said, it did have a lot to live up to after, the animated did so well, but I think they pulled it off really well. I think, like Splash said, the special effects were amazing. And yeah, I think it deserved what it made.
Well, if you haven't seen the movie yet, would y'all recommend someone going out and seeing it right now?
Definitely.
Oh, yes.
I think if Disney's going to keep making movies with the special effects at the level they are, they need to keep making $1 billion movies to afford it.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about Emma Watson? She's fixing to be the number one grossing female star in the world. Does she carry that kind of weight to y'all?
I think she does. I've heard a lot of stuff about her. I mean, she's done amazing roles since she was really, really young, obviously, with Harry Potter. And she's a huge feminist, which everybody loves about her. I mean, I think she's very mature. I mean, she's also done things with fans where she doesn't let people take pictures with her in public just because it automatically shows her location. I don't know. I think she's smart and knows how to deal with it. Yeah.
Any other thoughts about Emma Watson?
I think she's a very good actress. I think that's very impressive for the age that she is to have that kind of money. But I think, especially after her role in Beauty and the Beast, she's very deserving of it. I think she's a great actress.
All right.
So
T-Bone, any last thoughts for you?
I mean, just copying what Sparkles and Splash said, she's a very good actor for her age, and I think she deserves the spot she's in.
Well, good job, Disney and Beauty and the Beast. I know we enjoyed it. We drove 3.5 hours to see it a day early, if you guys remember.
we sure did.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All right. Our second story is an interesting one. This one comes from CBS New York. Controversy is brewing at a Long Island school over a recent school trip to Disney World. Some taxpayers want to know why the school went there and why the trip cost more than $100,000. Seniors from Shoreham Wading River High School say they had a great time on their class trip last month and made a presentation to the school board on why the trip was educational. It's a senior class trip students have been taking for years, but this is the first time that the school district paid nearly the whole bill for the 4-day trip to Orlando. Out of a class of more than 200 students, 181 of them went on the trip. Each student paid about $200, and the district paid about $153,000 in additional monies.
Wow.
The year before, only 73 seniors took the trip, and each of them paid about $1,000 toward the trip, with the district providing only about $10,000. News crew there from CBS went to the school district office to ask why they had paid more than $150,000 of taxpayer money for this year's trip, but the school district said they were not going to give interviews on the matter. Instead, they provided a statement saying, in part, the district has allotted significantly less funding for next year than how it budgeted for this year's trips. Sandy Fayette was a former teacher who says the only thing the trip taught the students was that if you come up with the right reasons, you can have anything you want for free.
Oh my gosh.
Another senior said that they were happy to go on the trip, but they didn't expect the school to spend so much. She said originally this year's trip had been canceled because some of the students had gotten into disciplinary trouble. But a group of students then went to the school board and convinced them that the trip would be educational and it should be reinstated, in which it was. The school board did make a statement that it has backed off paying so much next year, and they've only allocated $40,000 for the class trip in 2017-2018 school year. So what do you guys think? Is it surprising that a school would send their kids to Disney World for 4 days?
I think for the reasons that this article says are kind of interesting. It says they learn time management and money management from this trip, and I think the money management's kind of funny. You know, if you're going to spend that much of taxpayer money without answers for it, that's not very good money management. But I wish I could get funding like that for stuff.
Yeah. I'm not so much shocked as the school sent them. I mean, a lot of schools send their kids places like that. But it was a huge jump from what they paid the year before for that trip to that year. I mean, I understand maybe paying a little bit more, but that was a bunch of money to jump to and giving these kids this trip, and only paying $200 of the year before we paid $930, I think. That, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just how many kids they took, I think, was a little too much, because it says that they took 181 students on a 4-day trip to Disney World. And I think that's just crazy considering the year before they only sent 73. So yes, you can take funds off the next year, but it's just crazy that they would spend $153,000 on a trip like this.
Well, Splash, I'm sorry. Allie Kinsey. But Splash, I'm just curious. You're the only one that has graduated high school. Did y'all take a senior trip?
No, we did not. The only thing we had what was called blowout after graduation. We got to go play games for a little bit, but we didn't get anything like that. And it makes me feel bad for the students that are in the class after them because they're not going to get to go on a trip like that. Or even students further in the future. I mean, after something like that, all the students that'll come after them are kind of going to miss out, so to speak, just because there won't be money for them, but there was for this particular group of students.
Any other thoughts, you guys? You think it's a good idea for schools to pay for senior trips, or is that something that should be taken care of by the students? And keep in mind that, it's really hard to plan a trip like that because some kids may not be able to afford the trip no matter what it is. And, do you leave kids behind because of that? I mean, it's a tough choice, I think, for the school board in that they were trying to probably reach every kid. And because of the backlash, I would expect that's why they're backing off of it.
Well, I think it's not fair for a school district to plan a trip that would intentionally exclude certain students without there being an option for them to get to go. But I also don't think 4 days at Disney World should be totally funded by the school district. I think that's taking away funds from stuff that could be more beneficial to the student body as a whole.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. Like our class, we're normally the runt class. Like our class would come after the class that messed up the trip. So I don't agree with that. I agree with the school board wanting to help pay for some of it and doing fundraisers. But the amount they did pay and make the students pay, like I said, compared to the year before and everything, that's not right. But that it, like Austin, like Splash is saying, it really isn't fair for the classes below, because maybe they really wanted to do that and raise all the money to do it and help other kids, but they can't now.
Well, what do y'all think about the educational aspect? I mean, is a trip to Disney World really educational? What do y'all think?
No.
Well, I think it depends on what you're going to do. Before I was in high school, when I was in the 7th grade, there was a high school band got to go to Disneyland and perform. So they didn't get to stay for 4 days, but they got to go and spend a few days at Disneyland, but they also went to go perform. So I think if you're going to do something like that, then that's a little more justifiable than going just to go have a good time from an educational standpoint.
Yes, it really does depend on what you're doing, because if you're just going, like Splash said, to have fun, then there's a lot what you could do with that $150,000 that would be much more educational to the students than a 4-day trip to Disney World.
I don't know about y'all, but I guess we could all agree that the 4-day trip was probably really fun.
I was about to say, educational or not, I'd take the 4-day trip. That sounds really cool.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's go to our next story. Speaking of going to Disney World, those kids went, and College Life Online put together what they called the 5 things you have to do at Disney World. So I don't know if these kids did these 5 things, but let's look at the list and then see if we agree with the list or if there's any changes we'd make to it or add something, take something away. So according to Elizabeth at College Life, her number one thing to do would be to explore all the resort hotels. Number 2 was to go on the Kilimanjaro safaris. Number 3 was to eat a Dole Whip.
Always got to do that.
Yeah.
Number 4 was to brave the mountains, which means ride Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and Expedition Everest. And number 5 was Soarin'. So again, just real quick, the list: 1, the resort hotels; 2, the safaris; 3, a Dole Whip; 4, Brave the Mountains; and 5, Soarin'. Do you agree with the order? Would you add something, take something away? What do you think?
I'd probably personally, the Kilimanjaro safaris are really, really cool. I agree with that, but I probably wouldn't put on the have to do, and I wouldn't put it as number 2 on the list. I feel like there are other really, really cool things you could do besides that. Like I said, they're cool, but there's a lot of other things you could do that are better than this. I agree with the Dole Whip, but
Well, Allison, what would you put as your number 1?
oh gosh. I love the rides. The rides to me are my favorite part. It probably would be braving the mountains, doing all the big rides that everybody wants to do. Exploring the resorts would probably be my second though, because those resorts are beautiful. I mean, they're crazy. Each of them are completely different. So, I mean, that'd be number 2. My first would probably have to be braving the mountains. Yeah.
I think the Kilimanjaro safaris should be a must do if it's your first time at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would put it at number 2 either, but I think if it's your first time ever to go, I think it's a really neat way to experience the animal kingdom. So I would say that should be in the top 5. I do think that exploring the resort should be number 1, just because I personally like going and looking at all the different themes and the landscaping. But I think they didn't include eating at some of the nicer restaurants that, like at the beer garden, where you have some entertainment to go with it. I think that should definitely be something that you do. I think that's half the experience right there when we go.
Yeah. For my take on the list, I would probably put Kilimanjaro on 3 because for me personally, I love the way that Disney does this. So I would put it in my top 3. Probably with Braving the Mountains at number 2 and exploring all the different resorts at number 1. But I would put Kilimanjaro safaris, no matter how many times you've been there, in my top 3 because I just love the way Disney does it, how you can go and you can see all the different animals. And I think that's a really neat experience. Like I said, even if you've been there many times, it's still just so neat to see.
Well, I think Sparkles there said something about braving the mountains. For us, I think we really look forward to the roller coasters. It didn't list Hollywood Studios on here, but I think my favorite roller coaster is the one at Hollywood Studios.
The
What's it
Rocking
called?
Roller Coaster.
Yeah, by
Rocking-
far.
So, it wasn't on the mountain list, but Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Thunder Mountain, Everest. I mean, they're almost as good as Rock and Roller Coaster, and I think I would have put those number 1. Dole Whip's got to be in the top 5. I don't know. We really look forward to Dole Whips. What's your favorite thing about the Dole Whip?
It's unique to Disney. I mean, you can't find them anywhere else. And of course, if it's Disney, it's going to be good anyway. So they're always well made. And typically, like we went in December when it's cold and it was still hot out there. Like those are really, really nice to have.
Well, it's pineapple. So normally when you're looking at like a whip or a float, you don't think of pineapple. But I think they taste delicious.
Yeah, it's a good concept for just kind of a snack food. Because, like Splash said, you wouldn't ever really think of something like a pineapple for something. So it is very unique. I like that you can't really find it anywhere else because that makes going to Disney World and getting one at the Magic Kingdom just so much better.
Well, Soarin' was number 5. and I've always enjoyed Soren, but would Soren be in your top 5?
For me, yes, it would. Because it's just everything's so breathtaking for me personally.
Actually, I want to say no. I mean, it's really, really, really cool. We always love it. I mean, the guy at the beginning is funny. It's a really great ride. It's hard to get into. But I'd almost want to say I'd put like seeing the fireworks or something on the list before I'd put Soarin'.
I think soaring is fun. The scenery in it's obviously very pretty, but I think I would rather see something like Mission Space right there. You know, it's a little bit more thrilling,
Yeah.
especially if you're on the red team. The more intense training.
Well, I'm going to go with Sparkles. I think, and maybe it was Splash that said a minute ago, the restaurants. I think I would probably put a restaurant experience in the top 5 in front of Soarin', and I would probably put the fireworks in front of Soarin' for sure. And probably I could live without a Dole Whip. If I had to choose between a firework or a Dole Whip, I would choose the firework.
Yeah.
What do
I
y'all think?
agree. Especially the fireworks at Hollywood Studios now.
Oh, yeah.
Those were very fun.
Which one was better, the Star Wars one, or of course we saw the Christmas one?
Mhm.
Which one of those two did you like better?
Star Wars.
Oh, I was about to say biased because I love Star Wars so much. So Star Wars, but both are cool. But Star Wars.
I have to agree. I think the Star Wars one was fun. The Christmas one was great. I really enjoyed it, but the Star Wars one just I don't know. It was just neat the way they had lasers and everything in it. So,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Hollywood Studios, our next story goes back there to the studios, and the big news is this past week, BB-8 joined the Kylo Ren and Chewbacca at Star Wars Launch Bay, and you can go in and have your picture made and meet BB-8. I saw that BB-8's not on the floor when you go in, so he's not moving around on the floor. They have him up on a platform, so he's a little bit taller, probably about T-bone size there when you go in, and he's moving, but he's not rolling around. What do you think? Do you want to meet BB-8?
Yes.
I think it would be neat to go see him.
I think it would be fun to see BB-8, but I would much rather go see Kylo Ren
Yeah.
because that's an experience.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that experience, Kylo Ren.
He yelled at me.
He's not there to be your friend.
He's very authentic. So usually when you go meet, well, like Disney princesses, and you go get your picture taken, they're very polite, they're very friendly, and they want you to have fun. But when you go meet Kylo Ren, he thinks you work for the rebellion, and he's gonna, he's not gonna allow that.
You're the scum beneath his toes.
Yeah, he's not afraid to tell you.
Well, it's not a meet and greet. They call that the Kylo Ren experience.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say-
like experience Kylo Ren is
Yeah,
what it's called.
be in the presence of Kylo Ren.
He is a presence.
Yeah.
Now you guys have met him twice.
Mhm.
I'm just curious. Do you find that those meet and greets are less fun the more times you do it?
It definitely loses. Like the first time we went there, it was definitely something that we all remember.
Terrifying.
But the second time we went through, it wasn't really because you knew what to expect. So it wasn't all that like exciting or surprising like Because, like I said, the first time we did it, we had no idea that it was going to be Kylo Ren thinking you're part of the rebellion. So the second time through, we were a lot more lighthearted about it. And we were there to kind of have more fun than we were.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw this out. Let me throw this one out. Would we were talking about the top 5 things to do a minute ago. I'm not so sure if I'd never been to Disney World before, if I wouldn't put the Kylo Ren experience in the top 5. Would you?
Ooh.
It wouldn't be in my top 5. It would probably be in a top 10. But I think, for me personally, there are a lot more memorable things to do, in my opinion.
See, I disagree, T-Bone. I
Yeah.
think that was pretty memorable.
Yeah. We hadn't forgotten that yet.
Well, I think it also is part of the authenticity that Disney has. So when you go do that, it's not cheesy. It's not, something just to go get a quick picture and get out. I mean, you're going to remember it.
Yeah.
And that's how they want it. And so I think I would say it should be in a top 5 for someone who's just going for the first time.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that, too. I also think it's how big of a fan you are. Because if you're not a big fan of Star Wars, that wouldn't be in your top 5. It's just like meeting another character. Don't really care about it. But if you are more of a fan of Star Wars, you're a bigger fan of Star Wars, that's something I think that should definitely be in the top 5. Because it is an experience that we still don't stop talking about it to this day. So, yeah, if you're a fan of it, it definitely, I think it is, like Splash said, it should be a top 5.
Well, and we've done it twice. And if we get to go back, I would do it for the 3rd time. Even knowing what's coming, and I probably wouldn't take it as seriously like T-Bone said. I might play off of him a little bit more. But I would still go do it. I mean, I still think it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, let's stay with the Hollywood Studios theme in Star Wars. Our next story talks about a reveal about the new Star Wars land that's being built there right now. It won't be ready for a couple of years. But this is coming from the Disney Parks blog. And it was also announced this past week as part of the Star Wars celebration in Orlando, where a Star Wars Land panel gave some information out. Representatives from Walt Disney Imagineering and Lucasfilm talked about how they're building this to be an immersive theme park there in Hollywood Studios, which will be set on an all-new planet in the Star Wars universe in the Outer Rim. And Disney Parks blog kind of gives a little description. It says the remote village, which this land will be based off of, was once a busy crossroads along the old sub-light speed trade routes. But the prominence of the outpost has been bypassed with the rise of hyperspace travel. Now this is home to those who prefer less attention, and it's become a thriving port for smugglers, rogue traders, and adventurers traveling between the frontier and uncharted space. It's also a convenient safe haven for others intent on avoiding the expanding reach of the First Order. Some other nuggets that they gave out says that apparently decisions that you make while in the park will earn you a reputation. So, for instance, a guest who pilots the Millennium Falcon, which is a ride that was announced back in March of this year, said that as you make decisions piloting the Millennium Falcon, it may cause you to have interactions with other characters later on in the day, depending on whether you return the ship banged up or not. Another experience might begin on board the Millennium Falcon and follow you out the door of that attraction and into the local atmosphere. It says it's really up to you in Star Wars Land on how your day will play out there. Guests will be able to join the Resistance or the First Order, and picking a side could lead to another mission that you might experience while you're there. No real details were given about how that's going to take place, but it's speculated that your Disney band might somehow direct characters and how they interact with you. What do y'all think about Star Wars Land? Does that sound interesting?
I think it sounds like a great idea. If they're really going for full immersive experiences in the Star Wars universe and they can pull it off, I think it would be an amazing experience.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt they can do it too, because just like in the Be Our Guest restaurant, we don't tell them where we sit. We just go and sit somewhere and they just track our bands and know exactly where to go to us. So who says a restaurant can't do that? Who says like a character can't do that? And so I think that's really, really cool, especially seeing how if you return the ship banged up, Han Solo could come walk up to you and like tell you off for banging up his ship because he can track your bands. Like, I'm really, if they can, like Tyler, like he said, pull it off, it'll be really, really cool. And they probably can. So I'm ready for it.
I'm curious to see how they're going to do this, going throughout the day. I think that with the way that the Magic Bands are now, I mean, of course, everything is done with your Magic Band. So if they can just take that technology a step farther, I think they can easily do this. But I'm just curious to see how they're going to, once someone goes into Star Wars Land, how they're going to keep them in there and keep them, going through the day like what they're talking about.
I almost wonder if it means like, even if they step out of the park, the second they step back into the park, I guess going back to the Be Our Guest restaurant, they had sensors somewhere in there to let them know where we are, where we're going into. So I think, what if they did something where at the beginning of that land, when you walk out, okay, it tells you they walk out, but when you walk back in, the characters can tell you're back. It brings your whole story back to your band and people know. Like if they do something like that.
T-Bone, what do you think? You ready to pilot the Millennium Falcon?
I am. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, I can't wait. When is the expected date for it? 2019?
I believe that's right.
Well, we might want to start planning for a 2019 Disney trip soon.
I'm with you. I'll tell you what, our last story has to do with Disney World dining. And like Splash said a little while ago, it's a lot of fun to go to some of those restaurants. But Disney does every year offer some dates where they throw in dining for free. And we actually did that for the first time this past Christmas, where we all got to do free dining. And I tell you what it did is I think it allowed us to experience a lot of the different restaurants that we might not normally go to. Before we get into the news story, what do you guys think about dining at Disney, and was the free dining worth waiting for?
I think so, because of what you said. You get to experience a lot of different restaurants that normally you might not have been able to experience. So I think it's a very neat thing to do that they give free dining dates, so you're able to go to all these different, some try to immerse you like the Be Our Guest restaurant, or some you just go for the food. And I think it's good that they offer this, so that way you can experience all those different types of restaurants.
I think it totally changed my whole perspective on going to Disney World. We would stay in the cabins at Fort Wilderness, and for lunch we'd go home and eat like a bowl of cereal or something. But now we can go be, at the Crystal Palace in the Magic Kingdom. And it's just this beautiful restaurant with just amazing food, and you have characters always walking around looking to say hi. And I think it just absolutely enhances the Disney experience.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Because with this dining plan, it definitely is worth the wait, because, like you said, you get to meet the characters I mean, you get amazing food, and it could be really expensive to get into these buffet, meet the characters, huge deals. With the free dining plan, you get to meet the characters and have amazing food that otherwise we would never have even thought of going to. We wouldn't have probably known about it. We wouldn't have even thought twice before saying no. So it's really cool that you do get to experience so many other things. And in all the different, I mean, parks too. We ate everywhere in all the parks, places that I'd never heard of, but now we know about. It's a great experience. I think it's cool.
Well, let me ask you this, because we've done Disney dining many different ways. I remember one trip we did the quick service dining plan. So, it's a very different experience in their quick service restaurants and in their sit down restaurants. But what were your thoughts about the quick service dining plan that we did that one spring break trip?
It definitely encouraged us to get out and try the different resorts, which I thought was great. The food is pretty close to the same everywhere you go, with the exception of a few places, but it's generally the same type of food. So it was nice, but now that we've done the next step up where you get the sit down restaurants, it's hard to compare going back to the quick service only, in my opinion.
Well, part of the rumor, and the reason why I asked that is, of course, at this point, the free dining dates and plan for 2017 is all rumors. Disney has not announced anything yet, and they really don't expect any announcement to be made. The rumor is that Disney may come out publicly on April 24th, which is this coming Monday. But the rumor going around is, in the past, moderate resorts, which most of them have both sit down restaurants and quick service restaurants, always participated in the free dining in the regular dining plan. But this year, the rumor is that Disney may only give guests to moderate resorts the quick service plan. Are you disappointed in Disney? What do you think about that decision? And again, that's just a rumor. What do you think if it actually turns out to be that way?
I think from a business standpoint, they're trying to get people like us to upgrade to a deluxe resort. So they're going to make money regardless. But I think they're really trying to upsell, going from a Caribbean beach to Animal Kingdom Lodge. And it could be for many reasons. But I think they're definitely trying to get people to move up into those deluxe rooms, and then maybe getting someone that was going to stay at the Pop Century into a moderate resort.
It might have the opposite effect on the lower end. If you're going to get the same meal plan at the value resorts as you do the moderates, maybe it would cause a person to want to downgrade the hotel and stay at one of the cheaper ones.
Oh yeah,
That's very true.
I think. Sorry, I was gonna say it's gonna be hard. There's like once you experience something really great at Disney, it's hard to want to go down from that. But like if it is cheaper and it's the same food, and with Disney everything's gonna be great anyways, people probably will downgrade as well as upgrade. So,
T-Bone, any thoughts there?
Just like Splash said, it could try to get people to upgrade, or like it was said, some people might try to downgrade if you're just getting the same food. So I think we would just need to wait to see how it plays out.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps up what we considered news this week. Any final thoughts from anybody?
I'm anxious to see these free dining dates, and I hope it works out in our favor.
I'm ready to see Star Wars Land.
T-Bone, any last words?
I I'm just like Allie said, excited for that 2019 Disney trip.
A man of many words, that T-Bone.
Man of many words.
Well, I have enjoyed another Disney conversation this week. Guys, thank you for talking to us, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
I can't wait. And thank everybody for listening today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll have another magical week, and we'll see you next time for another Disney conversation. Bye, y'all.
Adios.
Bye.
Guys.